Good day, class. Before we will formally start our lesson, I want you to clean your area and fix yourself. And by the way, I am Mary Ann Cortez and I am your teacher for today. So may I request everybody to please stand for the prayer. And may I request Miss Rose to lead the prayer. So let us put ourselves in the holy presence of God. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. So you may now take your seats. So it seems like every one of you is present. So keep it up, class. And how are you? Good to hear that. So in relation to our topic for today, I will let you watch a video about the Chinese students the reaction of Chinese students about the commercial of Jollibee, which is entitled The Vow. So here is the video.
So for today's video, guys, you are going to react on one of the famous food franchise in the Philippines, Jollibee. So this is a true to life story. Are you guys ready?
Yeah!
Okay, let's start.
At that moment, alam kong
video. So I will ask you, how was the video? Miss Noche? Yes, the video shows the students' different reaction and emotions towards watching the commercial of Jollibee entitled The Vow. As you can see on the reactions of the Chinese students upon watching the commercial, they have their own mixed emotions, and I know that in their minds they have their own opinions and perspective upon watching the commercial, or even though others have their own experience of have heard those kind of experience, especially when it comes to love. Everybody relates things when it comes to love. So, in relation for today's topic, which is the community language learning, community language learning means that the teachers are advised to take their students as a whole person. Community language learning that's not focused only on intellectual. It also makes the teachers understand the relationship of students towards their feelings, reactions, and also to their desire to learn. So, for more information about the community language learning, may I call on Miss Geraldine Restaro to discuss about the community language learning.
Thank you, teacher. So now, let us proceed to our discussion. We will be going to tackle about the community language learning. But before that, let's define what is community language learning. It is a language teaching in which the students work together to develop what aspects of language they would like to learn. Again, community language learning. It is a language teaching in which the students work together to develop what aspect of language they would like to learn. So when we say community language learning, there will be a collaboration between learners to learners, in which it is their way to learn from each other. So now, let us know who developed the community language learning. It is developed by Charles A. Curran in the year 1970s in the USA. And why is it developed? Of course, it is to alleviate the anxiety and threat so often felt by the language learners. When we say alleviate, it is to lessen the problems or concerns about the students of the target language. It is developed because in order to emphasize the importance of the learners themselves and letting them design the lesson content by the use of a counseling learning. Later on, we will be discuss about what is counseling learning. So, let us know first who is Charles A. Curran. He is a specialist in counseling and a professor of psychology in Loyola University in Chicago. His application of psychological counseling techniques to learning is known as counseling learning. So what is counseling learning? Involves knowing the strength and the weaknesses of the students. It is an interactive process where the students are able to say what they feel and think about their learning. So counseling learning, it is about knowing the strength and the weaknesses of the students, and it is an interactive process where the students will be able to say what they feel and what they know about their learnings. CLL also redefines the role of a teacher and learner. So when we say teacher, the teacher in which the teacher here is the counselor and the learner are the clients. So when we say teacher is a counselor, his or her role here is to give an advice or assistance support of the students. And also the learner here is the client and the one to listen to the teacher. So when we say teacher as a counselor, just like for example, the learner have difficulties in speaking the use of English language. Of course, the teacher will allow the student to speak on their native tongue, in which or the native language that they use. in which the teacher here, it is his or her turn to translate the language into the target language, in which the use of English language. So, CLL is sometimes cited as an example of a humanistic approach. So when we say humanistic approach, it involves about the feelings, the emotions of the students, of how they feel and think about their learning. And also, community language learning is linked as a set of practices used in certain kinds of bilingual education programs by the use of language alternation. What is language alternation? It is also called a code switching, from the word switching or alternation, in which the message is presented first from the native tongue and then translate it into the second language, which is the English language. That is what we call a language alternation, in which the message is presented first from the native tongue and then translate it using the English language. And then now, let's proceed to the theory of language and learning. Quran himself wrote little about his theory of language, a theory of language built on the basic sounds and grammatical patterns. However, the recent writings of CLL proponents deal with great length with what they call an alternative theory of language, which is referred to as language as social process. So here are the 6 qualities or sub-process. The first is the whole person process. The second one is the educational process. Next is interpersonal, developmental, communicative, and the cultural process. These sub-process are the ways for the learners for them to learn, to engage the learners for them to learn about the target language. And also, LaForge also elaborates on the interactional view of language underlying language learning. According to him, language is people. Language is persons in contact. Language is in persons in response. So when we say language is people, of course, it is us who use the language and who makes the language. That is why language is involved people. Language is persons in contact. Yes, of course, because we use language through communication to contact with other people. So the last one is language is persons in response. Of course, when there is a communication, then there will be an interaction of each other. Again, CLL interactions are of 2 distinct and fundamental kinds, in which it is the interactions between learners and interactions between the learners and knowers. So interactions between learners to learners, in which it involves the learners working together, and in that way, of course, there will be an exchange of intimacy. And there is also a possibility that the learners will learn from their peers. The next one is the interactions between learners and knowers, where the learners here is initially dependent and they need a teacher for them to learn more. According to Tranel, if you group the students towards into a small circle, they will be highly motivated, in which there will be an exchange of intimacy from each other, and also to avoid isolation, so that the learners will not feel that they are not part of the group. So that is the idea according to Tranel. And let's proceed now to the theory of learning. Curran's counseling experience led him to conduct that the techniques of counseling could be applied to learning in general. The community language learning view is contrasted with 2 other types of learning, which is the putative learning view and behavioral view. So when we say putative learning view, it is It is all about the fact or the intellectual, which is the main intent of learning. Next is the behavioral view, in which it is also called Quran also called this as an animal learning, or the students here are passive. So there will be a limited involvement of the students. So CLL advocates holistic approach to language learning, since true human learning is both and cognitive and affective. So it involves the of what the students know and feel about their learnings. That is why the community language learning also involve the cognitive and affective of the students. So the process is divided into the 5 stages and compared to the ontogenic development of a child. In the first is the birth stage. So in the birth stage, in which the learners are feeling secure. They need to feel secure for them to learn more and become comfortable in the process of learning. The second one is the learner's abilities to improve. The learner as child begins to achieve a measure of independence. So there will be an improvement from the learning process. The third one, in which the learner here will speak independently. The fourth is sees the learner as secure enough to take criticism. The last stage is the learner merely works upon improving style and knowledge of linguistic appropriateness. So this process, these 5 stages is just like a development of the child, because it takes a step-by-step process for the learners to learn and to become independent enough in a target language by using it in a real life. So Quran discusses what he calls a consensual validation or convalidation. Psychological requirements for successful learning are collected under the acronym SART, in which the S stands for security. When the students are feel secure, of course they will be comfortable in the learning process or on their learning experiences. Then the A stands for attention and aggression, because the teachers must give an attention towards his or her learners, for them that they will not think that they are not part of the group, and also let them let them say what they learned, or let them do what they learn from the learning process. And the R stands for retention and reflection. It is all about what they learn about the target language. Then the D is denotes discrimination. So the next one is the objectives. So the goal of this method is attaining the near native mastery of the target language. Specific goals include developing a whole person learning process and trusting relationship among the member of the learners. The types of learning and teaching activities here is just like translation, the group work, recording, transcription, analysis, reflection and observation, listening, and the free conversation. So the learner's role here is the learning is not viewed as an individual accomplishment, but as something that is achieved collaboratively. Learners here are expected to listen attentively to the knower, to freely provide meanings they wish to express. And when they listen, of course, the learners need to repeat what the teacher says, so that they will know how to pronounce the words and how to construct the sentence. It is just like a human growth, the learners here. So the teacher roles will respond calmly and non-judgmentally. Of course, as a teacher, you must have a patience to help your students to learn more from you. And the teacher must have a supportive manner, help the client try to understand his or her problems better. So the teacher must address the concerns of the students, so that they will become aware of their mistakes and how to correct it from the correct sentences. The next one is the teacher role is to capture the essence of the client's concerns, just like what I've said a while ago. So, since a CLL course involves out of the interactions of the community, a textbook is not considered a necessary component. Materials may be developed by the teacher as the course develops. Conversation may also be transcribed and distributed for study and analysis. Learners may work in groups to produce their own material. So now, I will call to teacher Stephanie for you to have a quiz.
Hello, I am Teacher Steph, and I'm going to continue the presentation. But before we proceed to what I am going to do, I would like to give you some key points based on the discussion. So CLL, or also known as Community Language Learning, was primarily designed for monolingual classroom conversations in which the teachers are the counselor while the students are the learners. But we should also take note that CLL is extremely a learner-focused, in which it focuses on the learner's needs so that they can actively react or participate immediately to a working community. This method is very essential and significant for us, future teachers and educators, because it develops students' individuals aspects by working in a form of small groups on the language that they would like to learn. They can also give their feedbacks or corrections to their peers and gladly participate on their own. And with that, to test your understanding, I would like you to answer the following questions. I assume that you've listened well to the discussion, so it seems very easy for you to answer the following questions. And with that, I would like you to pass your answers on the comment section. And once again, thank you everyone for listening.